I came around the bend on a Thursday afternoon and saw a two-story house going up on my land. Tyvek wrapped survey flags everywhere like it had every right to be there. My stomach dropped so hard I actually checked the road sign behind me, like maybe I'd taken the wrong turn into someone else's life. 3 weeks later, the Homeowners Association tried to sue me for tearing that house down, the house they never had permission to build in the first place. My name's Ethan Brooks, and this isn't some property line misunderstanding where two neighbors argue over a flower bed. This was a full-size building, framing and all sitting 20 to 30 feet inside my boundary, like somebody decided my deed was optional. The land's been in my family since 1952. Hills a creek, old fence posts that have been in the same spots longer than most people have been alive. My granddad built a little place out there after he got back on his feet. My dad kept it exactly the way it was, and when he passed, I inherited the deed. And a handwritten note that just said, "Don't let anyone take this from you." So when I rolled in from out of state, windows down air sharp like fresh-cut cedar, and saw a banner on the construction fence that read something like Lakeview Ridge Amenity Guest Home, I didn't feel confused. I felt insulted. A foreman walked up in a high-vis vest clipboard tucked under his arm, and he hit me with that clean corporate tone. "Can I help you?" "Yeah," I said, pointing. "You're building on my land." He glanced at his paperwork, glanced back at the house, then gave me the look contractors say for stubborn rocks, annoyed, not worried. "The HOA fixed the plat," he said. "Boundaries got adjusted. It's permitted." Then he handed me a business card like it was a mic drop. "Brenda Whitmore, Homeowners Association President." "Call her," he said, already turning away like the conversation was over. I sat in my truck and pulled up the county GIS map on my phone. There was my parcel outline. There was the new house, sitting inside my line like it was daring me to blink. I drove straight to the county records site and started digging, because if someone's confident enough to build a house on your property, they've already decided paperwork is their weapon. And there it was, an entry filed months earlier, corrected plat, Lakeview Ridge, dated April 12th. The new boundary line magically shifted 30 feet onto my property under the sweet little excuse of surveyor error correction. Sure, totally normal. Definitely not fraud wearing a tie. Buried with it was an easement agreement signed by some LLC I'd never heard of, Mitchell Ridge Holdings, granting the Homeowners Association permanent rights. Except my land wasn't owned by some LLC. It never has been. It's in my name. It's always been in my family's names. That's the whole point of a chain of title. I called my attorney, Marcus Reed, and I didn't even try to sound calm. I just told him what I saw, what was happening, and how fast the framing was going up. Marcus got quiet for a second, then he said, "Don't touch anything yet. Send me everything you've got. This could be fraud." That night, I walked the fence line with my phone and a flashlight, snapping photos, dropping GPS pins, filming the old posts and markers like I was documenting a crime scene. There's a specific kind of anger that settles in when you realize someone is counting on you, being too busy, too polite, or too intimidated to fight back. The next morning, I was at the county recorder's office when the doors opened. The clerk, Linda, printed the whole stack plat easement building permit, everything stamped and official looking. I asked her, "So, this is just accepted. Nobody checks." She shrugged like she had answered that question 1,000 times. "If it looks right and there's a notary, we file it. We're not detectives. It's on the owner to spot trouble." At the assessor's office, it got worse because their records were clean. 70 years of history, my family's name all the way through. No LLC, no split, no sale, nothing. "File an objection," the guy told me, scrolling like he was reading a bedtime story. "Get a court order to void it." At the permitting desk, the woman actually frowned. "If this easement is fake, the permit shouldn't exist," she said. "I can flag it for legal review, but I can't stop the build unless a court tells us to." Everything was, unless a court tells us to. Meanwhile, the crew was out there nailing in walls like the law didn't apply until it physically tackled them. On Saturday, I paid for an independent survey crew. The lead surveyor, Paige Carter, was the kind of person who didn't waste words. She checked every old marker, measured from known points, pulled up her GPS equipment, and then looked at me like she was trying not to swear in front of a customer. "No ambiguity," she said. "That structure is 22 to 38 feet inside your line. She handed me a USB with the survey data and added, "If you need me to testify, I will." On Monday, Marcus drafted a demand letter. "Remove the house within 2 weeks or we will." We sent it to Brenda, to every board member, to the Homeowners Association's management company, everyone who liked signing things with other people's land. 2 days later, Brenda called and insisted we handle this like adults at the clubhouse. So I showed up to a big table with leather chairs and that fake calm real estate swagger in the room. Brenda walked in like she owned the building, the neighborhood, and the air I was breathing. She smiled the way people smile right before they talk down to you. "Let's look at the facts," she said. "We have permits. We have recorded documents. Everything is above board." Marcus slid Paige's survey across the table flat and quiet. "The corrected plat is void," he said. "The LLC never owned the property. You're trespassing." The board got defensive instantly, like I was the one who'd wandered into their meeting uninvited. "We trusted the developer," one of them said. Another one tried. "You should have contacted the Homeowners Association before making changes to." I cut that off. "You built on my land," I said. "That's on you." And right there, Brenda did the thing. The full Karen pivot from reasonable leader to, "You'll regret this." She started talking about deep pockets attorneys, how the community won't forget how they'd pursue damages if I interfered with association property. Association property. On my deed. After that meeting, we went for an injunction just to freeze construction while the title issue got sorted. The judge denied it, calling it a civil matter and saying if there was trespass, I had remedies. The Homeowners Association treated that denial like a permission slip. They sped up the build, pushing to finish fast because a finished house changes the optics. It turns you into the villain in someone else's story. And I'll be honest, there was one night sitting at my kitchen table with invoices and legal notes spread out like a bad poker hand where I felt the weight of it. Not dramatic, not poetic, just that heavy practical thought. What if I'm the guy everyone points at? What if I'm missing something and I'm about to do something irreversible? Then I'd look back at the chain of title. My family's name, 70 years, Paige's survey, the fake LLC, the corrected plat that just happened to benefit the Homeowners Association. And my dad's note would show up in my head like a hard stop. "Don't let anyone take this from you." We sent a final notice, 10 days. Brenda's reply came back with pure email bravado. Big words, legal threats, zero accountability. Like a keyboard could move a boundary line. Day 11. I hired a demolition crew. Ruiz Demolition, and I didn't do it like some out-of-control rage moment. Cameras rolling, every angle covered. I wanted documentation so clean it could be framed. The crew worked carefully, deconstructing, not smashing, stacking salvageable lumber, rolling materials off-site. It looked less like destruction and more like someone undoing a mistake with power tools. At 10:23 a.m., Brenda showed up, not walking, charging. She started yelling at my crew like she was their boss. Stop right now. You can't do this. This is association property." She pulled out her phone and called the cops right in front of me, loud enough for everyone to hear, like the volume would make it legal. Deputies arrived calm and bored the way they are when they already know it's going to be paperwork. They asked for my deed. I handed it over. They asked for the survey. Paige's lines were printed and marked. They looked at the so-called easement. They looked at Brenda's permits. One deputy handed my deed back and said, "This is a civil dispute. He's the property owner. If that structure is trespassing, he has the right to remove it." Brenda's face did this tight little flicker like her brain hit a wall. She tried again. "Threats, lawsuits you'll be hearing from our attorneys," and then she stormed off. By 5:15 p.m. the site was clean. The house was gone like it had never belonged there because it never did. I emailed the Homeowners Association the invoice. $14,200, due in 30 days. 3 days later, their lawsuit landed on my porch. They accused me of destruction of property, trespass, emotional distress for the neighbors, every dramatic label they could stick on the situation without acknowledging the one label that mattered. They built on land they didn't own. Marcus read it, leaned back, and actually laughed. "We're counterfiling," he said. "Quiet title, trespass, slander of title, fraud, costs." Discovery dragged for months, and that's where the whole thing finally collapsed under its own arrogance. Because inside their emails between the developer and the board was the smoking gun. They knew there was a boundary problem. They chose to fix it by filing a fake corrected plat creating an LLC to sign the easement and betting I wouldn't notice until it was too late. One former board president even admitted the quiet part out loud in writing. It was easier than asking permission. When trial day came, the judge listened for a full day and then issued a ruling that was basically 12 pages of "Are you kidding me?" The land was mine. The plat was void. The easement was null. The house was a trespass. The homeowners association owed me for removal costs and attorney fees. The judge even noted that when an entity files false instruments and builds on land it doesn't own, the law has to respond clearly, and it did. Brenda threatened to appeal, of course. But the board finally realized appeals cost money too, and losing twice is still losing. They paid the judgment. They voided the fake records. And Brenda Whitmore resigned from the Homeowners Association chair the same week the paperwork got scrubbed. No parade, no victory lap. Just a signature, a resignation, and the sound of someone who thought rules were for other people finally running out of leverage. Lesson: paper can lie, but a deed doesn't care who you are.